Kia ora, it's Aleisha and Alex from Catalyst. We're back again to do a recap of day 2 of KohaCon 2025 in Wellington. So today the theme was about growth and development, looking at the present, still a bit of the past, but thinking about some of the stuff that's going on now and is really current for our libraries and Koha users. So we started the day with a keynote from Dale Cousins. Dale works out of National Library of New Zealand, and she told us all about the history of Ngā Upoko Tukutuku, which is a project around Māori metadata and creating subject headings and other terms that more culturally appropriately describe words with a Māori worldview. Following Dale, we heard from Alex and Craig from AUT again. Alex, do you want to tell us a bit about that presentation?
Yeah, absolutely. So Craig and I talked yesterday about how different open source communities and systems work better together, and today we talked about some of the projects that us and Rōpū kohinga and also AUT are partnered on, where we did a Viewfind and Koha project where those two systems were integrated. We did a Viewfind and DSpace, and then Craig introduced a new system, a new project that AUT is keen to do, which is Koha, Viewfind and DSpace all integrated and working together. So it's lovely chatting, explaining the work that we've done with AUT and sharing that with the community.
Awesome, and so cool to unlock some of the power with Koha being so interoperable like that. So that's cool that everyone got to hear about that. After morning tea, we had 3 talks. 2 of them were from Mark Hofstetter, who works at HKS3 based in Austria. And Mark told us all about database stuff, so storing record data in using SQL, which is a database querying language. And then he told us about digital assets. Alex, can you tell us a bit about that?
Absolutely. So Mark was talking about how you can fetch and display the digital assets on the Koha OPAC. So this would be things like nice display for images, using something called Mirador, which is a way of displaying images in a nice way, so you can slide through a whole bunch of different images in your Koha OPAC. It's a way to enhance the OPAC. It's another plugin that they've created and are using, so it's really interesting to see how you can actually use this plugin.
Awesome. And speaking of finding new ways to do things, we also heard from Matthew Banks, who also works at AUT in this middle block, and he talked about the ways that the AUT library works with Koha and some of the ways they put their values into action. Following our lunch break, where we had pies and pavlovas, we heard from Judith Gust, who also works at AUT. Alex, tell us a bit about her presentation.
So Judith is in charge of acquisitions with Koha, and so she touched about, again, the partnership between Rōpū kohinga and AUT. So she talked about how she was so happy when they first moved to Koha, how we were able to take all of their acquisitions data from their old system, Sierra, into Koha. They didn't have to recreate 5 years of information all over again. She also talked about enhancements that AUT have sponsored for the acquisitions to make it work better for them, and sharing that back with the community. And then she also talked about enhancements and workflows that Aleisha has done to help them again improve the acquisitions workflow to better work for how AUT need Koha to work. So it's lovely to hear that feedback and those shout outs.
Yeah, awesome. And on a similar note, we heard today from Christy, who works out of Cuyahoga County Public Library in the United States in Ohio. And she told us about their 2 years with Koha and some of the fixes and enhancements that they've sponsored and supported into upstream Koha for everyone to enjoy. And speaking of upstream, we also heard from David Nind, who is a famous and incredible supporter of the Koha project. And he was telling us about the lessons he's learned from testing bugs and ways that the Koha community, developers and librarians and anybody involved can support people who are testing our bugs and getting new code into Koha. We also had some entertainment through a Koha quiz, which was mostly a celebration of Koha and the community and our host country, Aotearoa. So it was a way to kind of give people some fun facts about where they are and where the project has come from and is going. And then finally we had afternoon tea and a last block of sessions. We had some lightning talks. Alex, do you tell us about those?
Yeah, absolutely. So Bib Libra, they talked about some developments they're doing in Koha in terms of having, for a Greek set of Greek university public libraries, how they have a central catalogue and they have local catalogues, and how you can make changes in the local catalogue and push it to the central catalogue. So that was really interesting. I think that was probably my highlight from the lightning talk section.
Nice. We heard from Bib Libra again through Paul, and he gave us a history of Koha in France, which was super interesting. And finally, we heard from Ord, who works at Open Fifth in the UK, about how to delete your Koha data safely. And you found that really interesting, didn't you?
I did, absolutely. Koha is like an onion. You can peel different layers off, and there's more and more things to consider. And what Ord was saying, it's so important to consider how long do you need to store data for user information, both in terms of performance of your Koha, privacy, and just keeping things nice and clean and tidy, and being able to go into more depth about how you can use Koha to automate cleaning out this old data to make your Koha work better and not storing information you don't actually need anymore. So that was super interesting.
Yeah, and just being intentional with your data management. Hey?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome and a great way to finish day 2 of KohaCon. We can't wait to see you all for day 3.